So no, you don't have to go down the conspiracy road. You don't have to go down any road. But I think if one really wants to make a genuine change in their life, you have to look in the mirror and start with yourself.
Okay.
And I will say it is the hardest thing most people will go through if you choose to do it, because it's a lot of self-reflection work. You have to have some sense of self-awareness, and you deal a lot with your ego, and there's a lot of shadow work involved. So it's tough because you have to look at the hard truths about yourself, and not a lot of people can do that.
What's up, y'all? We're about to blast off. I am back with the first and only three-time guest on the show, Mr. Mark Davidson. He is raising the roof, you know it, boss. And we've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I'm super excited. This is going to be fun. If you do not have an open mind, just scroll through the podcast. Don't even waste your time. Unless you're looking to expand that mind that you have and that mindset that you are living in, that reality that you are exploring every day. Dude, on my way home from work, I heard a quote in a song by Dead Prez, and it talks about basically the ability to look through someone else's lens, right, and the ability to overstand instead of understand, and all of these different, contralateral thoughts, right? And it goes to the end. The ending is the last line of the song is a girl saying, welcome to the new age, the information age. What does that mean to you? What would
Welcome to the new age, the information age. That means a lot, actually, because that's very shortly, probably by the time you release this, it will already have happened. But it's people at the beginning of the year, people were saying 2020, right? 2020 vision. This is my year, you know. If you look around and a lot of people are also saying it's like a mass awakening. Self-awareness is dope. 2020. See, that type of stuff. And yeah, and I honestly believe we're moving into the end of this year. We'll get into it a little bit more, but at the start of next year, it's going to be this mass awakening of information technology, everything under the sun that you can think of. I really think it's going to be exponentially progressive in terms of information, the digital age, technology. And if you were to look inside us, within, for me, for like everything, it means a lot. It means everything, to be honest.
When you talk about, seeking your most inner self, right? Unpeeling those layers, looking deep inside. Some would say beyond, those layers, there's not even a self, right? There is a sense of energy, right? So you've been doing a lot of exploration lately, like way more than most people have ever even tapped into, way more than I've been doing recently. I had my stint where I was very enveloped in doing a lot of things, both physically and mentally, that were putting me in that mindset, right, on a day-to-day basis, every single day, right? So you're doing a lot of fasting. You're doing a lot of information seeking in general, right? So welcome to the information age. There's endless amounts of information, and there's millions of routes to go down. There's millions of rabbit holes to adventure through, right? There's millions of hallways with unopened doors that you can peek into. And so much of it is hand-fed to us that we don't end up walking down. We don't end up opening those doors. We don't end up putting our head down that hole and looking into it and seeking it. So what is really like driving? That's like the biggest thing. Like what is driving you to do that on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I will say, I'll answer that, but to go off of those hallways and those doors, um, the reason, what I believe, the reason we don't go down those, or many people don't, um, even care to, or even thinking about things differently, is because the doors are already open for us.
Mm.
Every We've been spoon fed everything. So they're literally leading us down this one hallway, and they're opening each door for us. Which makes they're making us think what we want to believe.
They're not really giving us the opportunity to realize there's other hallways with other doors.
Exactly. And if you do venture off a lost hallway, you're called crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like it's a horror house, right? Where they fear you into taking that one hallway. They fear you into taking that one path, in a sense. And who's they? We'd go into that even later. But what has driven you lately to literally like dive in, open your eyes, peek out other hallways? What is it that's kind of exploring?
Well, I will say I am not like, I don't have years of like credentials or years of research. It happened at the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
In January of this year, actually late 2019. It was weird. Something just felt weird. And I used to always be in like the political world and like, try and stay up to date with that. And I just noticed it. I just started to notice some real sketchy things going on, and what the tipping point was for me, which blew my mind, which really made me dig deep down, like not dig deep down, but like start to go and search different holes, was Super Tuesday, where Joe Biden won over Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. You could ask anyone on the left. Most people supported Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. And however Joe Biden, I don't think he won. They just made it up. It's all made up. But that was just like, I could mention all the candidates and 70% of them would say they're voting for Bernie Sanders. Everyone I know that's on the left, that represents blue in the left, they were voting for Bernie Sanders. And I know for like countrywide, he was very popular. So when he didn't win that, something sparked. I was like, this is not right. And then around that time, I have mentioned him, a coworker of mine, he also we started to do this around the same time. Like something just clicked and we started to dive down these holes. So we started bouncing ideas off of each other, and that kept leading down different rabbit holes, Mm-hmm. And in the very beginning, it's very confusing and it's very hard because
it's hard to make all the things that you're coming across for the first time.
So, for example, Operation Mockingbird. I've mentioned it on the previous. I think I mentioned it on the previous one. Mm-hmm. I looked into that, and that's essentially how all of the media is controlled, and it's just essentially predictive programming.
Okay.
Literally, it's programming our subconscious.
Like we talked about right there.
So, which you're in agreement with, and most people are in agreement with that. But that just doesn't seem right to me. Like everything we watch, so I started going down, and then everything started to connect. All the different hallways you were talking about, all those doors they all seem to lead to one place. And then the glorious COVID happened. Mm-hmm. All of the lockdowns and the mandatory stuff and all of everything that happened. And it's a reason I'm so big into it is because there's hard evidence, legitimate proof, studies, scientific data, doctors, scientists, credible people with years of experience in their field have come out and they've said the opposite of what the agenda is, of what the media is saying. And the numbers don't lie. They're just showing numbers. They even repeat some of the stuff the CDC says and the WHO says. And then the media says no, but then big tech, the censorship, censors them. So it just makes me wonder. It's like, why? You know?
What's the overarching goal, right?
And
Operation Mockingbird, in terms of controlling media, who do you think is behind this? Like, what, if you can dive deeper into that, I think that'll provide a lot of insight, because we use the words they, right? But like, who?
So, when I say they, and this is for all your followers, you said in the beginning, you really have to keep an open mind. We live in a holographic electromagnetic reality.
Okay.
We are energy. Our bodies are just vehicles in this reality right now, in this realm.
For our energy source, or our soul.
You could say it's non-human. You could say it's non-human is like the ultimate, I don't want to say God, but most people would consider God or the creator. It's a non-energy form, right? And then I was actually just watching some David Icke before this hopped on, and there's an interbreeding between what we would now call, like the 13 royal families, the 13 bloodlines. I'm sure you've heard of them. If not, I can pull up a list of them, but it's essentially 13 families 13 bloodlines that essentially are connected to everything, and they rule the world. They run the world. So you want to know who's controlling it? Those people are. But if you want to get on a deeper level, it's a non-human entity. It's just, I would say it's a non-human entity. And that's kind of hard to fathom, because what else would it be? If it's not human, what is it? That's hard for us to conceptualize, So when I say they, I mean, and it goes higher this, but I mean the mainstream media, I mean the big banks, the central bankers, these globalist organizations, the UN, the WHO, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, these groups that are these globalist cults, I would call them. They're the ones that ultimately decide what we see, feel, hear, and think.
So these royal families, they dive deep into the, bloodlines that have ruled the world for centuries, right? So the idea was that the United States escaped the British, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the idea in the United States was that freedom was getting away from what they were being spoon-fed. Where did it go wrong? What happened?
From the very beginning. We are not, if you look, there was this long, lengthy thing, but from the very beginning, from the birth of our nation. Think about it. Most of our forefathers were Freemasons.
Mm-hmm.
Freemasons are one of those secret society groups everyone talks about, and they have their hand in damn near everything on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Nice tattoo. So I genuinely think from the birth of our nation, we've been it's been a corporation, really.
So that's what I was going to say. The countries that rule the world are like equivalent to our big tech companies, right? They are, and I've always said this, there's levels to this shit, and regardless of whatever you look at. You look at a human body, okay. You look at cells, okay. You look at electrons, you look at protons, right? There's levels to it.
Yeah.
You look at a country, you look at, okay, it has states, or it has regions, then it has states, then it has
cities, and then towns, and then counties, and
towns, right? If you look at a country and you look at a stock market, right? It has large mutuals, right? And then it has the biggest companies, the monopolizing companies, and then it has the smalls, and then it drops down into the local everyday businesses, and then it drops down into black markets and blah, 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 blah. So the control of everything is slowly dripping from the top, right?
Essentially, and it's very compartmentalized. I think I said that right.
Compartmentalized in such a way that anybody born in the last, say, 300 years wasn't even aware of what they were born into.
No, and just like we're not aware of what we're about to go into, you know.
So
unless you know the end game, unless you're planning it, you don't know what's going to happen, you know. Ultimately.
So then, diving into these things, there needs to be, for people that are listening, right? There needs to be specifics. There needs to be things that can be relatable and comprehensible in order for anybody to want to understand or to even just take an extra step and look into. So, can you give me like specific things that have happened in the last maybe 3 months and say, this is what we were told, this is what I believe, and here's why? Maybe
last 3 months, I mean, COVID, first off, what they say is not what I believe, and what they say is not what it is. We're all living through it right now.
So do we not think it's a virus? Do we not think that it is do we not think that it's naturally occurring? Do we not think that it's
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And the CDC's own statistics prove this, and they've said it. And here's the thing. There's whistleblowers, too, that say this stuff, but people just swipe them underneath the rug. But the common cold and the flu and pneumonia have completely vanished. Completely vanished. You look at the numbers, they're in like those single digits. You look at COVID cases, and they're in the thousands. Mm-hmm. Sometimes tens of thousands. I don't know what the number. I don't even pay attention to that stuff. So, how does that make sense? And it's funny, I asked my boss about this just the other day, just to try and test it, because I saw a meme of it and I thought it was funny. They said, oh, the flu and the common cold have completely disappeared. And then someone says, well, because we're wearing masks and we're social distancing. Okay, well, then why have COVID cases risen? And then and then it's ... And I told my boss that, I said my boss that, and he like paused. I could tell he was trying to think of something. And then he made up some bullshit thing like, oh, COVID's different, it's this, that, and the third. And I was like, okay, really? Okay, well then let's look at the PCR tests. PCR tests, the inventor of the PCR has said it doesn't really test for anything. And if you want to test for something specific, you can do it. It doesn't, and it also doesn't tell you if you're sick or not. It just tests for proteins. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even test for it. And then you have these instances where people get tested 4 times in 2 days, or in 4 days or whatever, and half of them are positive and half of them are negative. You'd think if you had it, it wouldn't be negative the next time around, right?
So
I'm just gonna finish. So I'm not saying the virus is fake, because I mean we can get into the health aspect of that after. But in terms of this, I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just saying most of the information and the propaganda and the statistics and the data is fake, or it's altered or skewed in some way to push an agenda, to drive fear. Fear-driven. So, yeah, I mean, people get sick all the time, that's fine. But if you look at the deaths, of the actual deaths, most of them are elderly. The CDC said only 6% of people died from just COVID alone. 94% of everyone else that died had 2 or 3 pre-existing health conditions. Mm-hmm. And most of them were the elderly population. Mm-hmm. So, what the hell, man? Like, Are we not going to use common sense here? Or like, you know?
So then I know people who are not in the elderly age who have passed away from it. So there's the side of it where on a human level, you have to take into accountability that not everyone is going to be able to get through it, and not everyone that has pre-existing conditions got those as a result of lifestyle.
Yes.
Right. Some people are born with them. Can't get that. But beyond anything COVID related, if it is a vehicle to create fear and to push these agendas, what is the agenda? What was the point? What is the overarching goal?
The overarching goal is a one world government, a totalitarian state where there's one religion, one currency, essentially a communistic state where the very few control the very large mass. And that's already the case now. But like in places like America, we have things that what we call freedom. We have certain unalienable rights where, we were born here and this is how it is, which is why we see it so heavily attacked right now in the States, because I think it's kind of the last barrier before it. But mandatory vaccinations.
It's the strongest barrier.
Yeah, it is, because we have, well, I think the strongest one is the Second Amendment, but freedom of speech, all that stuff, but, I mean, it's to push this one world order. Look at Agenda 21 and Agenda 30, like, I could go into this stuff all day. I don't have all the information up in front of me, but all it takes is a quick, I don't use Google anymore, but like quick search on a search engine.
What do you use?
Understand briefly what it is.
What do you use?
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo?
Which right now, I just found out they now have a Chrome extension, which makes me think they're kind of partnering with Google, which I don't like, so I might have to find another one.
Okay.
But I don't know. But it's to push everyone into cities, control their food, control their water. They already have these smart cities. I think it's Shanghai, but there's definitely one out in China. They're called smart cities. And this guy, he visited it. He didn't have the implant in his hand, even though that is coming out. And years ago, people were saying the ID microchip is crazy, but now people are asking for it. This guy in the smart city in China, he jaywalked across the street, and 20 seconds later, his phone gives him a bing, and his money taken out of his account. So it's the ultimate form of control. And then ultimately, if we want to get to the deeper levels, they want to connect our consciousness to AI. And we won't be able to tell what's reality and what's virtual reality. They'll have complete control over it. Look at Westworld, for example. Altered Carbon on Netflix. These type of dystopian, Orwellian scenarios. It's essentially what they want. Perfect example. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Probably, it's a little bit more accurate than 1984 by George Orwell.
Yep.
But it's a very good depiction of what's going on now and where we're headed.
So then, what drives someone to want this? Why are these royal families? Why has this been their plan? Why are they going forth with it? What is it that they're going to get out of it?
So when I first started going down these holes, a big part of it was the satanic worship and these Luciferian satanic cults. And when you find out again, a lot of the dots connect. A lot of the superpower elite, these families, and people that stem from them. It's not just the families. You know, you have other puppets from the families, but they're really dark, sinister entities. You know, they emit very negative vibrations and frequencies, and they feed off negativity, low frequencies and low vibration. So they're not nice to begin with, but control. I mean, you can control. You have a handful of people controlling 8 billion people. I mean, you can do everything you want.
If I were smart, I would want control over someone's creativity. I wouldn't want control over someone's ability to fucking be a sheep. What is that going to do for me?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Nothing to the table. You might as well put a fucking rock in line and have them, you know, pay for your Netflix and, you know, your Facebook ads and whatever the hell it is. Like,
why does anyone strive to be a king? Why does anyone strive, you know?
Ego.
I'll say to be president, but like that's just strive to be a puppet. Look at all like in the past, like ancient civilizations. There's always been a ruler. There's always been someone that's destined for the top. I should say that's striving to control. There's always a villain that's always trying to rule over everyone.
Mm-hmm. So then,
I think maybe more of human nature, honestly.
Going back to the whole Orwellian and George Orwell 1984 and depictions of these places that we're heading and things that we're doing and how it all started. Did you get to watch Zeitgeist?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh man.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It is on my list though. I am going to check it out. It does look good.
So anybody who is listening and has gotten this far, you definitely probably already have an open mind. Go watch Zeitgeist if you have not. Shout out to Skylar Oliveira, bro, my man Sky. He introduced that to me when I was at LaSalle, and this dives so deep into and we started the podcast with the information age, and what you're talking about, this New World Order, Agenda 21, all of these things, it kind of comes full circle for me. And it's funny because, like I said, this is 3-4 years ago that I watched this, but there's a lot of energy in the world right now. I'll say that I've experienced a lot more negative energy lately than I probably have in the last couple of years. But with all that being said, Zeitgeist will open your mind to kind of some of these satanic things, and it'll dive deep into religion and control. It'll dive deep into the reasoning and the similarities behind all of the major religions and a lot of the languages, a lot of the symbolism that we have come to see and learn and talk about. Like you've sent me quite a number of things with symbolism, and symbolism is huge, whether it's numerology, whether it's actual, geographical or geometrical figures and signs and things of that nature.
It's a language. I think it's a language. It's how these people communicate with, in the terms of what I'm thinking about, it's how they communicate. For example, symbolism. Pedophilia. There's certain symbols that represent certain things, and that's how they communicate. Because you can't just openly say I like little girl. You know what I'm saying? You can't just openly say that. So symbolism is a way, and that goes exactly with what you're saying throughout time, numerology.
There's a lot of similarities between religions, and if you think about the numbers, numerology is huge, right? The numbers 3 and 6 and 11 and all of those are very forefront depicted in so many different religions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about things like the Three Kings or half of the solstice, right? You have your summer solstice and your winter solstice.
Winter solstice.
right? You're
It's
6
coming
months.
up.
And when you talk about Agenda 21, I had read a couple of articles that you had sent me regarding that, and the idea turns full circle when you start to see that there is in the winter and summer solstice and astrology and numerology, there is a certain length of time that we've experienced based on the alignment of the moon and the sun and the stars and all of those different things within space that we can jump into that depict the different astrologies, right? So astrological signs. So moving from Pisces to Aries to Cancer, Sag, to whatever. I remember in Zeitgeist, it talks about in a certain year within this realm, kind of like what we're experiencing right now, you're going to experience a shift from basically the astrological sign and the characteristics of that astrological sign. Not only do they basically become the energy of consciousness within mass society. So switching over from a Pisces to an Aries, you're going to see that those have different characteristics within individuals. But when we make that transition from a year basis, whenever we hit one of those solstices and things align differently in the universe, then we are going to see a mass consciousness shift.
Yes.
And that mass consciousness shift brought me back to that original line that I said of we're going to be entering the information age.
We really are.
So I want you to dive into two things. We'll start with the winter solstice and December 21st. It is not December 21st. We are 5 days out. But when this
Close.
I need to just hear this conversationally. What the hell are we gonna experience? What happened?
First off, and I can get into it. It's up to you. You can't think of the Earth as a sphere. I'm sorry. The way I'm going to depict it, you just can't. And this is that video I sent you on this universal disclosure.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, it's very visual. So everyone, if you even gotten this far, because I'm kind of crazy sometimes. Universal disclosure 2020. You type that in YouTube and it'll pop up. It's very visual.
So the link in the description.
Yeah, because it's the video that solidified and connected all of most of the dots for me.
Okay.
So I'll just put it out there like that. And this is I'm speaking cosmic level shit. Like, this is not your ordinary, walk to the park. This is like cosmic level, those existential questions, like, why are we here and what is the universe and all of that. It's like answers some of those existential questions to me. So it's very far out there. But in order to, before I get into that, you have to realize we live on a geocentric plane.
Explain that.
Geocentric means everything revolves around the Earth.
Gotcha.
Heliocentric is around the sun. So, geocentric, it's essentially, I don't want to go there, essentially saying we have a flat Earth. Which I can't. A little side note for your followers, because I do want to say it. I can guarantee you we do not live on a spinning ball flying through space going millions of miles per hour. I can
guarantee you that.
I can't guarantee anything, but I'm damn near sure about that. I mean,
so, to give everyone insight on my thoughts, because I also think very scientifically from some standpoint, and some people will say science is the the death of consciousness. Other people will say it's the fact check of blah 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 blah. Right. So what we know about science is that we are, and someone asked me this the other day, what do you consider energy? Energy is nothing but electrons and protons and neutrons reacting freely in space. That's how I think of it. Okay. Not like they're just randomly bouncing around all the time, sporadically, blah blah blah. There's a systematic, equation to this, but that gets into the quantum realm, right? So, understanding that from the most basic understanding of astrology and stars and planets and all of that I grew up with is knowing that I remember every star will eventually turn into a black hole. Very simple. Most people will agree.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, the idea is that a black hole becomes a lapse in time. That is what people believe it to be. It sucks in, and matter is escaped in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of it like that, I think that Earth. I'm not gonna turn down your idea of geocentric and heliocentric, right? I have not done enough of that on my own, but my ideology and the way I explain it to people is I don't think Earth is flat. I think Earth will be flat or is flat at one time or another, based on the fact that it is a star or a planet that will get bigger and become a black hole. Therefore, at one point in the quantum realm, it will be a time lapse space. It will not have any sort of mass to it. Things will be able to go in and out of it very simply. So that's where I come from, and that's why I'm always open to having this conversation. So it intrigues me.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'll start off by saying, because I went down so many rabbit holes, I don't trust anything. Not that I don't trust anything. I don't believe everything. And also, scientists can be bought just as easily as politicians.
100%.
So when you think about it like that, so everything we're fed in the mainstream media, science related, I kind of throw it out the window, for starters. Meaning, and that was the hardest part about the start of this, was having to unlearn everything. Literally, I mean, unlearn everything we've been indoctrinated with. So
the way I think about it is every book we've ever learned from was written by one person or a group of people.
It may not be far from the truth there.
Like everything that has ever been written down.
Yeah.
Written down by a human. So it was someone's perception of what was learned or experienced or saw, or in that realm.
Yeah, definitely. Where were we going?
You were talking about the fact that you've thrown out and unlearned.
Oh yeah.
Mainstream science, in a sense.
The winter solstice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can make another podcast because I could talk about that all day. But in terms of the winter solstice, what was that?
Talk about it now.
All right, I could give you a quick rundown. My observations and the stuff I've done of why I don't believe we live on a spinning sphere flying through space. Empirically, which means you can see it through logic and visual, like it's what you see, rather than science and mumbo jumbo crap. It's flat. You can think of an airplane. It flies up and it just flies straight, right? It doesn't. And now, if the Earth were round, it would have to take into account the curvature, right? The curvature of the Earth, right? So if it's flying, it would have to. If it just flew straight, it would fly up into the space. It wouldn't do anything. It would just go out. According to NASA, this is their numbers. The curvature, NASA says 8,000 meters per diameter, and it's 25,000 miles around. You can go through the math, but essentially it's saying every 8 miles it curves, right? The plane would have to take into account for the curvature. Every 8 miles. It's almost every 5 minutes. Like, the plane would have to be constantly dipping or going up. It would have to be. There's videos, but like even
always have to be dipping.
It would have to, regardless if you're going, it would have to take into account of the curvature, right? I mean, there's no other way around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but planes don't do that. They go up, they fly in the troposphere, and then they land. They don't go up, they don't tilt down. That was one thing. Also, water is always level. Water, level. No matter how I turn this, the water is going to stay level. Water doesn't just stay to a ball, you know? It falls off. Water is always level. That was another thing. Just because it is. And then also, empirically, like meaning you can just look at it, and this is also taking the curvature into effect, the world's longest bridge. 101 miles? 110 miles? Something like that. 102.4 miles long. It's in China, or out there. It's 102 miles long. Now, if the Earth had curvature, you wouldn't be able to see the whole thing. They would have to take into effect. It's just a flat bridge.
Mm-hmm.
The Continental Railroad. That's just a flat train, you know? Train that drives. It was a train that just went flat the whole time. Didn't go down, didn't go up, you know? Doesn't take into account of any of the curvature. And then, going to my operations I always like to talk about. Operation High Jump was in shortly after World War II, I believe. Admiral Byrd, who was a Freemason, by the way. CIA, all these people. It's actually the military, not the CIA. They send, what was the exact number? It's 4,700 troops and 30 ships to explore the Antarctica and stuff. What I believe is to be the Antarctic wall. It's just a giant ice wall, similar to Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Imagine that. He goes on this expedition, and when he comes back, he says he sees, and this is on television, like there's an interview. You can see him saying this. He sees this area about the size of the United States, just plush, green, beautiful forests, and like completely different world. Now, you know, that may sound crazy, you know, that's just a conspiracy thing, whatever. There was a second Operation High Jump, so he went back. He said the same thing. And then, another Operation Fishbowl, I'm just kind of going through like, all like the list here. Operation Fishbowl was a joint effort between the after World War II. 1957, I think? What was it? I didn't write the date down. It's in the 1950s or late 40s. Operation Fishbowl, joint effort between Russia and the United States. Essentially, they shot nukes up into the air to see what would happen. Trying to break through what I call the firmament, the glass. It's not glass, but, you know, trying to break through. Nothing happened. If you shoot it up strong enough, it's just going to keep going, right? Exploded. So that was another thing that just seemed weird, you know? And then on top of that, you have the disastrous moon landing. That's never happened. You can talk about that all day. There's obscene amount of contradictions and answers that have not been answered. Also, why have we never been back? If we've been, why have we never been back? You'd think as technology gets better, we'd make it easier and we could go back. No one's gone to the moon yet. No one's gone to the moon once. Except for us. But we didn't even go. So it's like, if we've gone once, why don't we go again?
So, on that one, I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast with Terry something. He's an astronaut. And I've watched a number of astronauts on the show Earth on Rock, Rock on Earth. What is the one that Will Smith did on Netflix? But he talked about it. The idea as well that I've thought about is when you're in the space station and you're looking down, if there's video footage of something rotating, how do we explain that?
What's rotating? Like when you're in the spaceship?
When you're in space station and you're looking down at Earth, you see the outline of the countries and the clouds and the atmosphere and land, and you.
Oh, CGI.
You really think so?
Fun fact: NASA has the biggest the largest, biggest CGI studio in the world, or maybe in the country. Hollywood films movies there. Why do you need a CGI station?
How many astronauts can they pay off? Like to
How many astronauts are there? There's generally not a lot of astronauts.
There's thousands of astronauts.
I don't think that's a lot in terms of 300 million people.
World.
But no, you're right. I mean, listen, money. I don't know. People, greed, man.
So that's like the weird thing is like, and he talked about the moon landing. I wish I could freaking remember more of it. So then, if there's certain questions people are gonna ask, right? We have a flat Earth. Now, when you say flat, are we
It's not a pancake. It's not. I think a lot of people think the flat Earth means a pancake. I consider it more of a cosmic egg or firmament. Even the Bible uses the word firmament. Imagine like, I don't know, kind of cutting. That's too round. It's just like, it's like, imagine an egg, right? Cut it in half and then draw a line on it. Draw a line on the egg, right? Where that line is, that's our plane. That's where we are.
Something like this.
Similar, yeah, but there's more of a bottom to it because you have to account for like the oceans and stuff.
And more like that, and it has a little bottom.
Yeah, so imagine that just on top. Like, take two of those and then put one on top of that.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold on, I think.
Now, for you guys watching, this is just my interpretation. Like, I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. I've been labeled a crazy friend, so who knows? But, yeah, I'm just talking to your viewers. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, for shits and giggles right now, yeah. And then, so where that line is would be like where we're chilling right now, you know? Above would be the astral projections and everything we perceive as the universe. And then below, I mean, you have to account for the water.
So this is where we're living. This is what we're seeing.
Yes.
And everything underneath that white, all the gray here, that is the rock that we live on.
Whatever we live on, yeah. I mean, rock is what. So we've only gone so far down.
Yeah.
And we've only gone so far up. They make us believe we've gone like super far up, but why haven't we gone back? Like, you know, like all this stuff. Like, I could go on, but.
So then when we talk about it being flat, the idea of like where the fuck is the edge comes up.
So that kind of leads into, because this video is kind of depicts more of what I feel like it is, but in terms of the winter solstice, how am I going to explain this? It's very difficult. Imagine, so we've kind of just established my perception of this and my belief is that we live on a geocentric electromagnetic universe, right? Like kind of what we just described right there, right?
So we're the center of the universe.
What we perceive to be the universe.
Because we only experience it from our
this vessel, this vehicle right now.
Okay.
There is so tell you the afterlife shit probably real, but
100%. That's one thing I definitely believe in.
And that leads into spirituality, which is I've kind of left the stuff we're talking about now behind, and just because I've realized I need everything comes from within.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes from the heart chakra. Like, open your heart and the universe will respond.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely believe that. I mean, you agree it's just vibrations and energy, right? You emit a certain frequency, you're going to get it back.
And I think that's one of the hardest chakras for people to open.
I think it is the hardest. Pineal gland might be pretty hard, but opening your heart to actually love everything, it's a very painstaking process. It's tough.
It's fucking wild. So I had a chakra massage a couple years back. Reiki
That's
massage,
cool.
right? Basically utilizing and Reiki massage therapists, they are an absolute sponge. Like, they have to basically, right? Energy cannot be created nor lost, right? So they are literally transforming the energy within your body through their ability to take it in and put it back in. Right?
It's crazy.
Transform it, put it back in. So that was where she found most of my tightness, and most of my blockage was heart chakra over my chest. I remember the breathing that I got into, and mind you, no one's talking during this. It's just a felt experience, right? So I'm laying on the table and I'm breathing. Okay, we're moving like up the legs. We get into the sacral chakra. We get into, the root chakra, all of those things, right? And then we get to my heart, and I'm breathing at a smaller capacity, and all of a sudden I start to I'm inhaling for 45 seconds to a minute at a time.
Wow.
Just
wow.
An unreal sense of openness and freedom. It's really strange to get that feeling back. I've experienced it a couple times since, because once you understand that something can be experienced, you have the ability, you already know that it's possible, right? So I've experienced that maybe a handful of times since then. That was 3 years ago.
Damn.
It was an unreal, you can't put it into words, especially it was the first time, and it was so strange, man. And she talked about it afterwards, she was like, yeah, your heart chakra, you had a ton of tension there through your chest, through your mid back, thoracic spine, and the energy that we hold on to manifests in other ailments, right? It causes symptoms in other ways, and that's why health is so much more than some of the stuff that's fed to us, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to dive back into that. Sorry to kind of blow you off track there.
No, you're good. Yeah, the winter solstice, that is right around the corner. We are on the brink of a new age. December 21st is going to be the start of the reset, as you could call it. Mm-hmm. But essentially, bear with me.
This is where the World Economic Forum and all of these other major companies are talking about the new normal and the major reset. They're actually saying these things, and they're tweeting them. They are putting them on Facebook. They're going on live TV and doing interviews and utilizing the same freaking saying across all of these platforms.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to get into it, but you have it solidifies my point even more on what's going to come with this winter solstice. Essentially, cosmic alignment. I'll get back to the WEC or WEF. So we kind of discussed what we're going into. Now imagine a drop of water in a pond, right? Do you have concentric, like, equal rings around it, right?
Yeah.
We're on the fifth, call them epoch, but rings right now. In the middle, right? And this is where a lot of the religion, a lot of syncretic research, like pulling from multiple sources, multiple cultures, languages, all that type of stuff. Pulling from multiple sources. In the middle, so you have the drop of water, right? That's perceived as the center. It's like a magnetic north pole, electromagnetic pillar, or tree of life, as people have talked about in the past. Also referred to as the Garden of Eden. In that you have what was the name of it? Like Mercury and Venus, right? Or like Saturn and Jupiter, whatever. It doesn't matter because it really doesn't matter. But so you have two, like a moon and a sun, right? This is the layman's terms. We're going through the whole 46-minute video. I'm not going to spend 46 minutes. But so there's 4 realms, right? Boom. 4 realms. So 4 circles, right? Around. Each circle has a moon and a sun. How many planets do we have? We have 8 planets. Pluto's not a planet. So on ours would be Jupiter and Saturn would be considered our moon and our sun. It's crazy. It's wild. And here's the thing. The video that we're going to post in the link, it's very visual. So if you see it, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. So essentially, hear me out. You have the 4 rings, right? And they're all what's the word I'm looking for? Like circulating and rotating, around the top. And then you can imagine like the circle, right? Split it up into a clock. You can take like the time, the months, the astrological symbols, Sagittarius, Pisces, all of that stuff. Align them up accordingly, the seasons and the months and all that. I'm gonna fast forward through it all, but on this winter solstice, it's the first time in 6,000 years we're gonna have complete alignment with the 4 suns on this side and the 4 moons on this side. And essentially, it's like opening a portal to each other realm. It's crazy. Complete cosmic alignment. It's called the cardinal shift or cosmic shift. And
into the information age.
And what's going to happen is, because of this is why I had to explain the geocentric, because on the 21st, so the sun is at the lowest level on the y-axis, the closest to the Earth, right, and the furthest away. And the way it works is the sun's neither going to rise nor go down for 3 days. From the 21st to the 24th.
This is also where it starts to relate to zeitgeist.
For all my religious people out there, what else does that sound like? You die for 3 days and you rise out on the 4th? Jesus Christ. Is that not what the whole thing is based off of?
And then if you go to show you that there's tons of other religions that say the same things.
Exactly. And you can prove, I bet that movie you were talking about says it. And then if you really dig deep back, this is a little side note, essentially, and you could probably agree to this, most religions kind of worship the sun. Jesus Christ is a symbol of the sun. They're not saying the sun's a god, but it symbolizes everything good about it. Everything good that God gives us, right? So what would that be considered as? God's son. S-U-N or S-O-N. Jesus Christ is God's son. Essentially, Jesus, the son, and all the son figures, and you look through the churches and the windows and all in the churches, there's generally a sun behind Jesus' head. And a lot of other religions can back this up. So with that just being said, that was just a huge break. So that was just like, well, damn, that makes perfect sense. Like, and then,
So major energy force. That's what the sun or the God is, right? And religions looked up to the sun. Religions looked up to a higher power. They looked up to God. All of those things. Listen, I take little things in bits and pieces from every religion. I think there are principles within each one that make sense and are logical and have value in our lives. It's wisdom. It's them, relaying information about what you can learn, what you can experience, and what you have the ability to do. All of those things, right? So that's where the fact that so much of them overlap, that's where it comes to a full circle where, okay, now it all makes sense. Like it was an experience that was felt around the world from all different types of people, and they were trying to relay that to the next generation, to the next humans coming after them. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. A lot of different religions share the same
principle,
beginning, like, beliefs,
ideologies. Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. They share a lot of the same ideologies. It may just be dressed up a little bit differently,
100%.
So then, continuing on with
the winter
the sun neither rising nor going down, right? You could take a lot of people, even the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, dictator name, that sounds creepy, has even said there's going to be a cyber attack. Keep that in mind. Now, a lot of financial experts, can't talk. A lot of people in the financial world said there's going to be a financial crash, a reset. I think it's a psyop, but QAnon, I'm sure people have heard of that. They're saying that there's going to be a blackout and Trump's going to lock everyone up and all this stuff, but there's going to be a blackout. The grid's going to go down, the whole global grid is going to go down. Well, when this happens, it is. And after the third day, on the fourth day, on the 25th, which is funny. It's funny how we use Christmas trees, which kind of symbolizes the tree of life, at this time. That was another thing that kind of got to me. But
so Zeitgeist is all about that.
Yeah. So this kind of aligns with that movie then. Where was I? Shit.
The 25th, the fourth day.
Oh yes.
Or the sun rising.
So it's we're gonna have, imagine the Northern Lights, right? But like times 100 or times 10, like times crazy amount. It's going to be, the whole globe's going to be able to see it. And this is part of the mass awakening that we're talking about. You're going to be able to look up and it's going to be crazy, like what we see in the movies and stuff.
So the crazy thing is that when I heard the whole information age thing, right, to jump back to that, and you said the whole cyber attack thing was going to happen, and I read that in the articles and the things that were sent, right? So that's exactly what that like clicked for me. I was like, And then I started to think about the zeitgeist. I'm like, wow, I remember them saying that there was going to be a shift very soon in this, that, and the next. And we're going to shift from basically one sense of consciousness to another.
Yes.
As we're changing astrological signs.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, I remember all of this stuff now. And
you gotta watch this video, bro, and it's gonna make sense to you. I promise.
Okay.
Especially since you've seen that movie, like. It's all gonna make sense. Yes, you just hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
So here's my thing, where I think's gonna happen. They're gonna use it as a false flag. If there's a false flag is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, when it's gonna look like a nuclear.
Can you explain the term and the sense of false flag? What does that mean to you? What do you? What
False
do you
flag.
What do you? Yeah.
I may upset people, but 9/11.
Okay.
False flag. False flag to start a war. False. Actually, really, for the Patriot Act. Really, that's really what came from 9/11 was the Patriot Act.
Okay.
Biggest breach of personal security and privacy ever.
Yeah.
COVID-19 false flag. Use it to. It's a false flag. It's something dressed up.
As one
Present something, but it's something that there's a hidden agenda behind it. It's not what it seems.
Or in a sense, it's a distraction for something to,
yes,
or for other things to happen. It's a
distraction.
Okay.
And with the cyber attack things in that video, it said they're gonna tell us not to go outside because it's gonna be harmful, like radiation or something. And that's true because it says it's gonna. And this is, you can go look up the Carrington event in 1857, 1859, the Carrington event. Go look it up if you're still watching this. Whoever is, please do it. It's gonna be very similar to that, but stronger. And essentially, the sun, it emits like plasma stuff, right, into the atmosphere, and it draws heavy metals from our bodies. Now, what have they been polluting us with since our birth, since we came out of the womb?
Heavy
metals, poison, chemicals, vaccines, foods, water, deodorant, toothpaste, you name it, everything. Lotions, that body wash, the plastic we drink out of, the stove and pans we use out of, unless it's not cast iron, everything has heavy metals in it, pretty much.
So then, hold on, right? This is where it starts to turn back into we have the they, right? They're trying to do negative things, right? They're the ones that are supposedly, right, all putting this stuff in us. They're giving us heavy, bad metals. They're doing all of those things for us and blinding us and doing it behind our backs, right, with false flags and all these things. But then if this cosmic event is aligning and that is supposed to happen on the 25th, that would be a good thing, no? The sun emitting this and drawing metal toxins from our body. So
it's not really drawing it. That was the wrong way to describe it. See, here's the thing. This is all hypothetical, because everything I'm talking about is just hypothetical because no one knows what's going to happen.
What is it? Are they saying it's a good thing that it's going to?
No, it's going to make us very sick.
So it's going to make the metals more worse. It's going to
and that's where I was getting at. It's going to make us very sick, and they're going to tell us not to go inside or not to go outside, to stay inside, which they're already doing. They're already telling it, and maybe not down in Florida, but a lot of the places they're telling us to stay inside. And so see everything. There's so much to it, but. I don't think people are gonna die right away, Like, I don't think they're gonna, like, if they go outside, they get it, and then they die. No, I don't, that's not gonna happen. Like, I think, but I do believe, because I have seen stuff about time out. The news has already said that there has been, down in the South, a new strain of COVID. So I think next year, a lot of people are gonna die from COVID, and that's gonna, like, really make people serious, people like me. But I see through the bullshit. So I think that would be the end game, but I think World Economic Forum has already said there's going to be a cyber attack. We've seen documents of all this stuff saying we're at risk for cyber attack. And then I mentioned this to you before, bro. The alien invasion. Now's as good a time as any. Now is as good as time as any.
They're gonna. Didn't they already come up with something this year? The Pentagon saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the subconscious shit I'm talking about. They're priming us. They're conditioning us. All the alien movies, they're conditioning us to already like accept it, kind of.
So do you think we are going to have an alien invasion, or do you think they're going to false flag us with an alien invasion?
False flag us, of course. It's going to be holograms, holographic projections.
And we're going to experience them, and our reality is real.
Yes. I was just watching this video, and there's some video footage. I don't know if it's doctored or not. But another one, Project Bluebeam. That's very interesting. Project Bluebeam by NASA. It's a 4-step thing, but step 2 is holograms. Using holograms giant in the sky to. They say for clouds, but come on. Think about it. We already have holograms that work. Tupac was on stage. You've seen that. I'm sure you've seen that video of the kids in like the school gymnasium. And there's a giant whale that jumps out of the basketball court.
Oh, yeah.
Splashes and water goes everywhere. It's just a hologram.
Yeah.
That looks real, you know? So I definitely believe they have the technology to pull something like that off. 100%.
There's a. Did you ever watch the thing on Netflix I told you about that was I you don't have Netflix, you probably don't watch it. Dude,
I don't watch it very often.
Called Snowden. It's the movie about the guy who basically
Edward Snowden.
Yeah, Edward Snowden, right? So
Patriot.
The Patriot Act. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. So
yeah.
The Patriot Act and Edward Snowden, it goes into that entire backstory. And yes, it's a movie, but like if you can take the information for what it is and not just like they're telling you stories in movies. Most of them aren't fake. Most of them are a depiction of what
most of them are very, very real.
Yes. Yeah. So the idea that he did that and like that was in a major part of our youth and I had no idea. I was like, why did no one say this then? What did, you know, like why wasn't I told that when I was that young? Or
because we're not supposed to know. We've been indoctrinated and programmed. It's like the Matrix, plug it right in, boom.
No,
but that's why we don't question stuff like that, because we weren't raised and educated to ask those questions.
So then
they painted him as a bad guy. They paint the Julian Assanges, the WikiLeaks dude, the Snowdens. Oh, and what's her name? Fuck, I just had it up. It's Brandy Vaughn. Bro, Brandy Vaughn. Pharmaceutical company just knocked her, killed her. They silence these people. They try and discredit them to make it so people don't ask those questions or they form a negative opinion of them and think they're the bad guy.
So do you think
that's why we didn't ask those questions? Because the news said he was bad.
You think that's Sebi? You think that's JFK? You think that
JFK's touchy because the Kennedy family is one of those bloodlines, I think. So, and he was into some other he was trying to get rid of the Fed, but he had his hand in some other shit too. But like the Dr. Sebis, the Nipsey Hussles, the Bob Marleys, you know, these types of martyrs.
What do you think about Prince and Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson is not the monster we think he is. I don't think he is. I think they used him as the scapegoat to cover up their pedophilia. do believe that. Prince, not too sure. I'm not too up to date on everything around him, but yeah, I mean, people know for years. We see it, and you can even go up to anyone on the street, and they would agree with you, but they don't take the next step of thinking. Like, oh, did you hear Dr. Sebi? Like, Joe Smith found the cure for cancer, right? Dr. Sebi did. And then, the agenda behind Big Pharma, and that would put a dent in their profits, right? Mm-hmm. So they kill him. Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all. People, wake up! Are you kidding me? They just killed this dude because he's telling the truth.
So that's weird. That's weird. Oh, that was weird. Get into the whole idea of being silenced, and them watching and knowing everything that we're doing and being able to take money from our bank account because we jaywalked in a smart city. What does someone do on a day-to-day basis to not live in that reality and get outside of that and grow beyond that and be positive and do something to contradict the negative energy that is being sent our way? What do you do?
I'm really glad you asked me that, because that's the shift I've taken in the last couple of months. Seriously, the last month, is because diving into all of the things I dive into all of the conspiracies, takes a toll. It's negative energy, a lot of it's negative energy. And then on top of that,
you have to unlearn something or come to terms with something. It's draining.
It's very draining. And having to unlearn my whole childhood on science and physics is this is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But and then on top, I coupled that with being very vocal. You know how passionate I am. Very vocal and passionate on social media. Because I felt like I had an obligation and a duty to try and wake people up, and just that and the third, I gotta be a patriot, and it's draining. It's very negative.
Yeah.
And in the same time, I was diving more into the meditation and the spirituality aspects. Mm-hmm. But recently, right now, self-awareness. Self-awareness and just live your life with gratitude and love. That's the best way I've felt, because it's so easy to get so caught up in the political world and the financial world, and why isn't my partner doing this? I want them to do this, but you're not saying you want them to do that. You're only thinking it. There's all of these things, and a lot of it takes a self-reflection, self-awareness and self-reflection. Otherwise, I felt like my life was almost pointless and meaningless. I'm just I'm living every day. I wake up, I'm still grateful and happy, but it's meaningless to try and prove a point to everyone when the truth comes from within.
Is that the only way to reach that full self-awareness? Is it to dive in and learn all that stuff? And
no, not at all. Absolutely not. No. You do not need to go down any rabbit hole. No, you don't have to go down any conspiracy theory at all. That's just the path that was laid out for me. That the path that I followed. You could, for example, be in a bad relationship with a girlfriend. Your boss is a dickhead. Your job sucks. Your parents kicked you out. And, you could have the worst situation ever. And nothing else matters but like you and your feelings about yourself, and your thoughts about yourself. You could pick up one self-help book, a Deepak Chopra book, or a Jay Shetty book, like I'm almost done with, and just find that switch, and just know you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know something needs to change. Not everyone can do this. Not everyone realizes this. Not everyone is aware of this. A lot of people go through their lives on autopilot, per se. I felt like I was, and I needed to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel that spark, that need, that change, you start to search various avenues of what you think would work for you. So, no, you don't have to go down the conspiracy road. You don't have to go down any road. But I think if one really wants to make a genuine change in their life, you have to look in the mirror and start with yourself.
Okay.
And I will say it is the hardest thing most people will go through if you choose to do it. Because it's a lot of self-reflection work. You have to have some sense of self-awareness. And you deal a lot with your ego, and there's a lot of shadow work involved. So it's tough because you have to look at the hard truths about yourself. And not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people want to do that. So I really, it's up to the individual, what kind of life they want, what kind of experience they want in this reality. That's completely up to the driver of the vehicle, But I think you should do it in the way that suits you. Because I thought when I started this, you just meditate, think about nothing, and life will be dandy.
Yeah.
That was before I started going down this conspiracy shit. I took a break from the meditation to go down those avenues, and now I'm going back in a completely different light.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way.
I've realized, even though all of this shit's going on, all this negative stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm welcoming all of these changes. I'm welcoming the New World Order because I realize I am nothing. I sound like Kanye West here, but like I am God. You are God. We are God. We are the same thing. And that's why I hate it when people put labels on themselves.
The creator of our reality, just as God may have created a reality, right? There's, like we started the podcast with, there's layers to everything. There's levels to this shit.
Yeah, there's layers. And I will say, what was that?
I think of it as groupings of electrons in the millions, in the gazillions, right? There's one within a whole, and that whole is within a this, and this is within a that. A lake is part of an ecosystem, and like that ecosystem is part of the river system. That river system is part of the ocean. That ocean is part of the earth.
But here's the thing.
But there's all one drop as well.
We're all Earth. You just said it. If we're the same thing as a tree,
mm-hmm.
and that tree is the same thing as that river system, and that river system is the same that leads to the ocean, then we're literally all the same thing. And
the ocean is comprised of hydrogen and oxygen, and when that gets blown off of the water and lands on land, the bacteria within it, which is algae turns to decay and starts to turn into carbon and nitrogen, and that carbon and nitrogen becomes fungus, and the fungus becomes the soil, and the soil becomes the weeds and the grass and the trees and the plants and the flowers.
The cycle of life, bro. It's just the cycle of life.
And all of that green stuff that I just named emits the oxygen that allows us to live. Yeah.
And in order, like, here's the thing though. Now when I say labels, what do you think of?
language.
Language?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we try to give verbal noise for something that we experience on a different level, right? So our voice emits a frequency that's different than what our heart works at. So we're trying to express something that we're experiencing with a different frequency, and we're trying to transform it into something else. So it's not exact. It's not literal. It's not identical.
Okay. So I'm thinking it as literal. When I say labels, when I think of labels, I think of division. If you were to label your spices, you're dividing your spices up, right?
100%.
So, in terms of what we were just talking about, how we are all one, we are all just conscious energy. We're all energy.
We're trying to give each thing a name to be able to identify, to be able to quickly express once again the things that we're experiencing with our vision, with our taste, and our touching senses, right? All of those different things. And then we are trying to be able to quickly identify them, so we give them a label. We make a noise in our language that gives it that name, so we can identify it quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're getting into?
Well, I was going to say more in terms of like personal labels, how we label ourselves.
Yes.
Because again, I genuinely believe all of us are the exact same thing, just driving different vehicles, different cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has the same car. A lot of people look alike, so you can say this, they have the same car, same vehicle. Because we are all one.
Mm-hmm.
When we label ourselves, we ultimately divide ourselves. Yeah. Like you would, and I don't consider myself any of this, but most people would label me as a white male, straight, and if you saw any of my posts, you'd probably call me Republican, even though I don't think so. But you know what I'm saying? It's this left, right, black, white.
Yep.
Male, female. It's this division. It's dividing us. What's the greatest war tactic? Divide and conquer, right? What's the one way? It ties into one. How can you divide and conquer the whole world? How can you conquer the world? Divide them all up, control them all.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're getting really into these deep divisions, I call them, with the LGBTQ and all. Okay, go on.
I have a question.
What's up?
I'm like a happy kid in class with things.
Mr. Foss.
Thank you, sir. So, if you're talking about the division of types of people labeled by different beliefs, different appearances, different theories, right? Different choices. That's cool and that's easy, but then you start to, I think the direction you're going in is saying that we're finding way more reasons, more and more reasons to divide or to be labeled as something.
Yes.
The evolution of our language happening.
Yeah.
So there's words created in the languages across the world every single day to experience something new. It's a part of evolution, right? But it's causing more quickly identifiable things that make us different. And then you're going into the idea that you walk into a smart city and you are identified as nothing more than everything that you are. Literally everything. Your bank account, your everything is right there. No one is alike you now. You're in a smart city. You're identified as this massive number that is your identity. Maybe like social security number.
Yeah, that's essentially what your social security is.
And now,
like, your birth certificate is just a receipt of you. Your birth certificate is just a receipt of Dylan Foss.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Your social security number is how they identify you.
but now you can be identified by a chip in your hand. So now
Yeah, which is crazy.
So now there's nothing identical to you in the world.
Nope, but that means they have the ultimate control, so they got what they want. You know, you had to divide everyone up to bring them all together.
Only because we're thinking of those differences as negatives. When if you ultimately realize no one in the world can scientifically be the same, then you start to realize that those differences are the beauty. They are the good thing. They are the thing that makes each one of us valuable and purposeful, right?
Yes.
Because no one else can experience the things that I've experienced. No one else can see the thoughts that I think. No one else can take action on the thoughts that I think. They are mine. No one else has this energy that is here. And that can't be touched or taken from you, in a sense. So now that those differences that were being labeled and that are separating people across the world should now be the positives, the things that bring us together even more. Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, that makes sense. 100%. It's a positive way to look at it. 100%. Definitely.
Because the idea, right, is to. I say this all the time. It's like, why just bring up a problem? We have to talk about solutions. And there's day-to-day. It's a day-to-day struggle. It's a day-to-day conversation. It's day-to-day work that has to be done in order to be able to understand what might be trying to take place, but what we are trying to counteract.
Mm-hmm.
And how we can do that.
Yeah, man. I've never thought about it like that. I was just thinking there. Yeah, that's a great way.
That's Living La Vida Loca, man.
Living La Vida Loca, man. I always think of Shrek when I hear that song.
Oh, man.
You know the scene, right? Living La Vida Loca. I think it's in Shrek 2.
Yeah, it's Shrek 2, yeah. That's hilarious.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Dude, this was unreal.
I know, I definitely... people are going to think you're crazy for talking to me.
Man, I think both of us have that understanding that there's a lot more to everything, and I'm open-minded. I'm energy, and I'm trying to experience and see other forms of it and make some sense of it myself. The only way to make some sense of it is to see all of it. You can't make sense of something that you've only seen a little bit of. Like,
yeah, and it's funny because I just see some
cake by just the frosting. Like, no, I need to get if it's a, you want a little bit of the chocolate, you want little bit of the vanilla, you want a little bit of the frosting, you want a little bit of the creativity that was on top of the cake. Like, you try it. You
exactly.
You want to experience every aspect of it, but people, I don't think they're taking that approach to a bigger scale. And like you said before, it's like, okay, yeah, I know that was fake and they lied to us about it. We all found it out later, but like, let's just move on. As opposed to like, well, maybe just take that extra step. Maybe just look a little further and see why they were going through. It's like being a detective. Like, you realize something happened and you're like, okay, but why would someone take that step, or why would someone?
It's literally detective work. It's asking the right questions, and a lot of it's why. Or who.
Yes, who, and why. Who, and why.
But I mean, that's the thing I've realized. Life is just gonna happen, and we can only control ourselves and what we put out into the world. And I'm a firm believer of what you put out is what you receive. If you're constantly thinking about debt, you're going to be in more debt. If you're constantly opening your heart and giving love, you're going to receive love. you know?
But that's also why you can't be so narrow-minded, because you can't focus in on any one thing too much.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, you know, just like don't be a dickhead. Like,
No,
you know?
not talking to you. I'm talking about in general. Anybody, there, um, there needs to be a sense of open-mindedness if you want to experience anything else, or
No, there has to be.
what you think you become, right? So, like, if you're putting yourself through different experiences all the time, then you're becoming a blend of all of those. If you put yourself through one or two things every day and you're so naive in that sense, then you're becoming just those two things.
Definitely.
You're a small array of experiences as opposed to a large perception array of experiences.
Yeah, no, 100%. Oh, open-mindedness and just
How does someone get better at tasting wine? They drink more different types of wine.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
How do you get better at archery? Shoot a lot of arrows. You know?
So something that is experiential needs to be experienced multiple times. And yes, you want to fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times more than the man that has practiced 10,000 kicks one time. But if you find 10 kicks that you like and you love and that benefit you and benefit others, and you practice all 10 times per day, whatever it is, I'm just doing the math out.
Yeah.
Separate, and you allow yourself to find your niche, find what's positive for you, leaves you in a good ROI on a day-to-day energy basis, and then you move forward into doing those 10 things 10,000 times and getting good and becoming those things that you love, not one, not two, not 1,000 that you just look like a wild, sporadic person, right?
Yeah.
But a focus, a niche of things, and experience them.
Gary Vee posted a video something similar to that today.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not the guy that focuses on one thing, that focuses on juggling one ball. He'd rather juggle 50 and have 10 drop.
Mm-hmm. Because in reality, the ones that dropped were meant to drop. You weren't willing to do what it took. Everything is a sacrifice in order to gain. So if you're not willing to sacrifice for it, then you won't gain it. But if you're sacrificing for other things, then you know that you actually want that thing more than the one that you're not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And there's your scale of like how to figure out what actually is falling most in touch here.
Definitely, man. Yeah. It's a wild world, but it's very simple. It's crazy and complex, but it's simple at the same time.
Because if you look at the smallest layer, it becomes simplistic, right? The smallest level of it. You use a microscope to tune in and see what is actually occurring. It paints a much bigger picture.
Hell yeah, man.
100%, man. Like when you realize if this whole camera was 1 pixel, you would see 1,000,000 pixels within that 1 pixel. Mind-boggling, crazy, blah, blah, blah. No, it's literally just the breakdown of everything has a smaller version. Like,
yeah, that's all it is.
Because you can't catch up to it. Time is a construct, right? All of those things, like we made it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so as one thing is happening, another thing is already bypassing. There's no way, you can't catch up.
No, there is no way.
So every time I look into a pixel, then I've already missed the other ones that are continuing to elude me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Life is something else.
Yes. What a blur, bro. What a blur.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Dude, this was awesome, bro. I love catching up with you. I think we might have expanded some minds. What do you think?
I hope so. If anyone gets anything out of this, I just hope you take everything with a grain of salt and keep an open mind, because ultimately our reality is our own perception.
And
everyone's reality is different than from everyone else's. I think it's just finding your true north and just
sticking to it,
doing it, you know? Like, just keep an open mind, because, like, life is better. Life is just better, you know? When you can keep an open mind and try not to shut as many things out, and that includes people and relationships and everything, you know? So if anyone got anything from it, I hope it's just keep an open mind, and definitely do some freaking research if you want to know about something. Don't go to the mainstream media for answers. They're lies. Do your own methodical research and look it up and form your own opinion. Everything I talked about today was my own opinion based off of my experiences while I was reading. You know? Like, that's all it is. That's all I was talking about, was just my beliefs and my opinions based off of what I read. You could read the exact same thing and think something different, and that is the joy of it. You know? So I think it's just everyone can just collectively talk and civilly talk about this stuff and keep an open mind, and it opens a lot of gateways and paths, you know?
Yeah. You'll go to bed and rest daily knowing that you kind of experienced things and you went through the day-to-day adventure consciously, as opposed to just, you know, like a robot.
Exactly.
That's a good point, man. It's a beautiful way to end it.
Yeah, I gotta go do some stuff before I hit the hay.
I'm gonna get straight to hitting the hay, I think, man. I got an early morning. Had an early morning.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna eat dinner tonight. I've been really working on not eating like 4 to 5 hours before I go to bed.
Me too. That's funny.
So that's something I've really been trying to do.
I don't think I've eaten since 4:45.
I ate at lunch.
Okay.
12:30. And then this happened, but now I'm going to bed in like 9 o'clock, probably an hour or so. There's no sense in eating.
Yeah. Do you, man? You've been on a big fasting gig, so keep.
Oh yeah, it's fucking easy peasy now. Go 3. Yeah, just give me water and I'm fine.
Don't wither away to nothing, man.
No, I'm not. I'm still. Listen. I was trying to lose like my colon weight, I call it. Like your gut, you know how your colon has a lot of like excess waste in it.
Up to 10 pounds of shit in your colon at any given time.
Yeah, I've been trying to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Also,
clearing it out.
Boost your immune system. There's a lot of health benefits for it. So, especially in now times, like,
why not?
There's the world's deadliest virus coming around, Dale. It's so deadly. The healthy people are forced to. It's so deadly. You have to test to know if you have it.
Crazy.
It's so deadly. You don't know if you have it until you test it.
Yeah. Wild, man.
But, yeah. Wild. On that note, brother, I'll let you go do your thing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Much love. Thank you for everybody who listened. As always, remember, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't get too high, too low. Every time that you get too high and too low, you are suddenly controlled by something other than within. So keep that in mind. Much love. Peace.
Yes.
What's up, LT Tribe? DFOS here, just to express my gratitude and say thank you for tuning in and continuously commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the episodes and the content that we are bringing you. It is helping so much. Once again, want to say thank you and hope you have a great rest of your day. Limitless Fitness family, this one is for you. If you are a weekend warrior, a fitness enthusiast, a fitness professional, or an athlete, young or old, it does not matter. If you are trying to get fit or stay fit or improve your fitness levels, head over to ck1bands.com and grab yourself a pair or set or single band, because a resistance band is one of the most efficient pieces of fitness equipment that you can use anytime, anywhere, any place, and you can bring with you almost anywhere you travel. So head over to ck1bands.com and use the code LIMITLESS, all capitalized, for a special discount at checkout. Please go support Chris, everything he's doing. Chris Capon was a high school teammate of mine, a lifelong friend, and the first guest on the LT360 podcast. He is the creator and founder of CK1 Sports. If you have not listened to that podcast, I highly suggest you go do that. And after you do, or while you are listening or watching it, head over to ck1bands.com and grab yourself some bands. I use these things every day with my clients, and they never disappoint. What's up, Limitless Theory Tribe? Hope you enjoyed the episode. I wanted to take a second to give you an opportunity to save 10% off on anything in the Limitless Theory apparel store. Everything from beach towels to coffee mugs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and tank tops, and much, much more. New styles rolling out all the time. Use code LT10 at checkout for 10% off. LT10 at checkout, all capitalized, for 10% off anything Limitless Theory apparel related. And all you have to do is take a picture and tag us so that you can get 10% off again next time. Peace. DFoss here. If you're anything like me, you love free 99. That's why I want you to head over to thelimitlesstheory.com/free. I dedicated this portion of my website to specifically give you free tips, tricks, resources to check out and use for free, and also give you an opportunity to support other small local business owners like myself, who have often already been on my podcast and you may already know. So head over to thelimitlesstheory.com/free to see what free 99 can do for you. DFoss here with another important sponsor. This one is awesome. It is a way to get high quality meat delivered straight to your door by Bristelli's Meat Market. It was established in 1976. They are now a global leader in the highest quality meat. And it is awesome. If you are an unfranchised owner like myself, you can earn anywhere from 22 to 27.5% IBV on your orders. And if you are a customer through shop.com/limitless theory, you can also earn cash back every time you buy your high quality meats for you and your family. Not only can you get filet mignon and burgers and chicken, but you can also get salmon and tuna and shrimp, and even a combination of regular meat and seafood. So make sure to check out Bristelli's, but most of all, check out shop.com/limitless theory to learn more.